Hey folks, it's Patriot Nurse. I want to discuss with you the news about Facebook listening to people, which we all are kind of like, oh yeah, really? Hadn't known that one, but yep, it's true. And then also some of the current events going on. So the first thing is that it's come out recently in the past few days from the whistleblower giving his testimony that Facebook has indeed been listening to people, which is not surprising. And also, this to me is a signal of a greater move. And I think one of the things that's going to be happening is that as this surveillance and as these mechanisms, especially with artificial intelligence like Siri and Alexa, as these become more common, that there's going to be this partition of people that are saying, nope, 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 I'm done. And they're going to be throwing away their smartphones and going back to stupid phones. And essentially that there's going to be appealing, that there's going to be this split, this divergence with people who are going to go back to older media, older forms of media like landline only, and also people are going to be making returns to hard copy print. And overall, I think, folks, that this is sort of a harbinger of the things to come. If you've ever read the book 1984, all of this has been talked about before. Kind of odd, isn't it? That in 1984, there was the big screen, that was beaming into people's homes that was giving them the 2 minutes of hate, and then, Oceania versus Eurasia. And basically, our media that used to be a product that we consumed, now it's consuming us in a different sort of way. It's taking information from us. It's learning from us. And especially when you're putting into the mixture artificial intelligence that's capable of listening to our conversations, listening and predicting with speech patterns, it's concerning. But moreover, I think that there's a lot going on right now with communication and with technology. And I've alluded to this in my newsletter this month. For those of you who are my $5 a month Patreons and above, thank you. You'll have access to that. It's already posted, so you can see that on the Patreon feed. But I've alluded to this a little bit, and I think that this really is evidence more of the left's infiltration in media, and also how they're seeking to control people and to suppress people. And I think there is a greater purpose in this, which I talk about in the newsletter. But folks, when you have Zuckerberg, the little dedicated leftist that he is, doing the stuff with Facebook that he has been, and then you have YouTube, which is suppressing channels like mine, that's interfering with the algorithms, that's changing the way in which people who have elected to hear from me are now no longer able to hear from me. When you put these two things together, with the advance of the left, with the way in which the left is using children as their poster children, against gun violence, all of this is going to a point, folks. All of this is going to a point. I do think there's going to be probably definite friction and potential trouble during the midterm elections. Because people are not buying the narrative. And then on the flip side, they're the dedicated leftists who are doubling and tripling down on their program and on what they're doing. And when you have communication being suppressed and being strangled by the main outlets that people in the United States are receiving their news from, there's a reason for this, okay? They realized that during the presidential election the last time around, that it was the alternative media, and it was people like me and people like you who are engaging on these social media platforms. They realized that that's where a lot of the damage was done to leftist ideological furthering, and also to the Democrat Party. And the reason why I think this is going to, go forward, and that there's going to be trouble during the midterm elections, is that there's something that the Democrats and leftists in this country do very, very well, and that is to organize. There are many reasons for this, but they fundamentally do not recognize the rights of the individual. They only recognize the collective as having power, and that's a big thing for them. And so what they do is they cheat, they lie, they break, rules. They do whatever it is necessary to accomplish their leftist goals. And that's what they've been planning to do, and that's what they're moving towards. There are reasons why there are certain trends right now that are happening. There's reason why these different media platforms are pushing down on people like me and trying to keep us quiet, and in many cases outright banning, issuing multiple strikes, in short order to try and get our channels banned and to take away our voice and to take away your ability to listen together, to glean information from sources that are not government controlled. Okay. And no, I'm not one of those people. I'm not some sort of secret operative. It's crazy, the nonsense that goes on online. It's like people have no lives. They have to concoct like secret agent patriot nurse stories in order to make themselves sleep better at night. No, I'm not one of those people. I'm just kind of an average person like you that happens to have a decent understanding of history, probably like you. And thank God, an ability to communicate and a voice to speak about these things. But this is a great threat to them, and it's one of the reasons why they've been seeking to use any and all information that they can and pumping it through their little techno matrices to try and determine better ways to keep us quiet, to keep us silenced, and to get their agendas across. And people are starting to push back against it. Hopefully, at some point, we'll be able to find an exit strategy from YouTube or a way that we can have greater individual control over the information spread back and forth. But folks, it's a very dark time. It's a very dark time, and we're in a bubble right now. And unfortunately, the group of people who have been known as preppers, I think many of them took a hiatus after the president got elected. And I keep saying this. You've probably heard me say this a few times on videos, but it's true. It is absolutely true that people took leave of their senses when the person they wanted got elected in office. They don't understand that the federal government structure and the power within the federal government is snowballing, right? It hasn't gotten better. Okay. The power abuses of the federal government have continued in their expansion. And until we have a major check on the power of the federal government and a balance of power shift back into the hands of the states, where the founders definitely wanted it to be, we're going to continue to have problems. So just because your person is in office, man, like that doesn't mean that everything is peachy keen and okay. All right. And it never ceases to amaze me. We have these, what people call rhinos, but these fake conservatives who are in the swamp, up there. Despite all of their campaign promises, they have not been able to deliver on fundamental things, including the repeal and replacement of Obamacare. Like to be honest, forget replacement. I just want the thing gone. Okay. But the damage is done at this point. The damage to the marketplace, the messing around with the marketplace by a vehicle from the federal government, the damage has been done. And so I made the statement a few weeks ago, but it's true. If you've been paying attention to the videos and the information that I was putting out, not as some yay, Patriot nurse, but just, being honest about it, if you'd paid attention to it, and then with the changes in Obamacare that had come down, you'd be better off, right? Because you'd have your supplies and you'd have, the skills and you have the assessment protocols. You'd know how to take care of your family if, for instance, your healthcare premiums went up and your deductible went through the roof and you could no longer afford it. But the healthcare thing is a problem, mainly because it exists as a tax, as a tax on people that hadn't previously, of course, been there. But there's a lot of problems, folks. There's a lot of problems. Just because there's a president in office, we still have the legislative branch that is very much troubled, and then we have the judicial, which is always problematic, especially when you've got these judges in there who are leftists wearing a judge's gown, and that's a problem in and of itself. We're going to be facing in the years to come, I think, folks, an increase in violent uprisings, and also I think we're going to see a reprieve, or not a repeat. I think we're going to see a repeat of the 1960s, except with more force, because during the 60s you had the empowerment of the rabble masses under the guise of being these students who were just expressing themselves. They had heavy backing from communist groups and from very, very deeply embedded Marxist ideological groups, and that ultimately had the impact of shifting the middle of the country to decidedly to the left for generations. And we're going to be facing our own fight here, I'd say, probably pretty soon. So pay attention, y'all. And I think the difference here now versus in the 60s is a lot of it is the technology. The message is still very much the same, but the technology is different. And that technology right now, the power of the technology that exists, that we communicate with, that is decidedly in the hands of people who are devout Marxists. So we're going to be facing our own set of issues. Just wanted to give you guys a brief update. Passover is tonight, so Pesach Sameach for those of you guys who are of the tribe or the tribal persuasion. And of course, today is Good Friday, and then also Easter is on Sunday. So a lot of us are going to be getting together with our families. So tell your folks that you love them, even if they annoy you. Tell them that you love them. I hope it was helpful for you. If you haven't joined me on Patreon, I'd encourage you to do that in the event that YouTube ends up, for whatever reason, for whatever break I do in their community guidelines, if YouTube ends up yanking my channel, God forbid, for whatever reason, I need to be able to communicate with you guys, and being a member on Patreon allows you and me to communicate. Also, if you're a $5 a month member on Patreon, you have access to my newsletters at the end of the month, and then I have other tiers as well, which is awesome. And I'm going to be mentioning you guys here in a subsequent video. But thank you so much to my Patreon supporters and my subscribers, guys. You are the reason why I make the videos, and it can be challenging to do it, but I'm really, really grateful for you. I hope it was helpful for y'all. Have a wonderful weekend. For now, it's Patriot Nurse signing off, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.